the Middle East, a region where the sounds of gunfire have never ceased, a place where the interests of great powers violently collide. And at the heart of this complex geological chessboard lies a relationship that the world's press describes as beyond normal. The relationship between the superpower United States and the Jewish state of Israel. Why does America, a nation thousands of miles away, pour billions of dollars in aid each year and use its veto power at the United Nations to protect Israel? What are the origins of this strategic alliance? And how has America's backing of Israel shaped the instability and polarization in the Middle East? In today's video, we will decode one of the most powerful and controversial alliances in the modern world. The history of a special relationship. Host. This relationship wasn't always so special. When Israel declared its independence in 1948, U.S. President Harry Truman was one of the first world leaders to recognize the young nation. But in the early years, France was Israel's main military ally, not the United States. So, where did the turning point come from? Let's turn back the clock to the Six-Day War of 1967. With lightning-fast victory over a coalition of Arab nations, Israel demonstrated its overwhelming military prowess and its value to Washington. The U.S. realized it had a strategic asset, a stable, capable, and democratic ally right in the heart of a volatile Middle East. From then on, the relationship began to deepen. U.S. military aid soared, and Washington gradually replaced Paris as the ultimate security guarantor for Tel Aviv. This alliance was permanently cemented after the 1973 Yom Kippur War, when the U.S. launched a massive airlift operation to save Israel from the brink of defeat. Historical milestones in the U.S. Israel relationship. Number 1. 1948. The initial recognition. President Harry S. Truman made the United States one of the first countries to recognize the fledgling state of Israel. Just 11 minutes after Israel declared its independence, this recognition laid the initial foundation for the relationship, demonstrating America's early political support. Number 2. The 1960s. Shaping the special relationship. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy was the first to call it a special relationship. Later, the Six-Day War in 1967, under President Lyndon B. Johnson, became a turning point in the diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Israel. Israel's victory demonstrated its military strength. The U.S. began to view Israel as a vital strategic asset and a reliable ally in the heart of the Middle East. Number 3. 1973, the Yom Kippur War airlift. Under President Richard Nixon, the U.S. conducted a massive airlift operation, Operation Nickel Grass, to supply weapons and materials, rescuing Israel from a perilous situation. This operation helped to firmly solidify America's role as Israel's ultimate and indispensable security guarantor. Number 4. 1978. The Camp David Accords. The Camp David Accords, signed by President Jimmy Carter, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin in September 1978, established a framework for a historic peace treaty signed between Israel and Egypt in March 1979. This agreement helped elevate America's role to that of the most important mediator in the region's affairs. Number 5. The 1980s, formalizing the strategic alliance. Under President Ronald Reagan, the two countries signed their first strategic cooperation agreements, and the U.S. officially designated Israel as a major non-NATO ally. This helped to institutionalize and further deepen the military and strategic cooperation between the two nations. Number 6. 2016, the record-breaking aid package. In 2016, the administration of President Barack Obama, despite personal tensions with Prime Minister Netanyahu, signed a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, for a $38 billion military aid package over 10 years. This demonstrated that the U.S. security commitment to Israel is a bipartisan and enduring policy that transcends personal political differences. Number 7. 2017 to 2020. Major policy shifts. Under President Donald Trump, the U.S. made landmark moves, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, moving the U.S. embassy there, and brokering the Abraham Accords, the normalization of relations between Israel and several Arab nations. These actions broke with decades of established policy and dramatically reshaped the diplomatic landscape in the Middle East. Number 8. The 2020 to 2025 period. Is U.S. support for Israel still unconditional? The U.S. Israel relationship has shifted from near absolute harmony to an unprecedentedly complex state. The core strategic alliance and security commitment remain intact, but on the political and diplomatic fronts, disagreements have become deeper and more public. The phrase unconditional support is no longer entirely accurate. Instead, this is a period where Washington must constantly balance supporting a close ally with applying pressure to shape its actions in line with American interests and values. The three main pillars of U.S. support. To understand why this support is so enduring and seemingly unconditional, we need to look at three main pillars: strategic interests, the power of lobbying, and shared beliefs and values. First, let's join me in analyzing the first pillar: strategic interests. The unsinkable aircraft carrier. As some newspapers have analyzed, Israel serves as a critically important military and intelligence outpost for the U.S. in the Middle East. It acts as a counterweight to forces hostile to the U.S., especially Iran. Having a powerful military ally like Israel helps the U.S. maintain influence and deter adversaries without needing to intervene too deeply itself. Second, intelligence cooperation. Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad, is world-renowned, and the sharing of information between the two countries is invaluable in the fight against terrorism and in monitoring regional weapons programs. Third, the defense industry. Israel is not only a major consumer of American weapons, but also a real-world testing ground, helping the U.S. test and improve its most advanced military technologies. The second pillar, the power of lobbying. We cannot overlook the influence of pro-Israel lobbying groups, most notably AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. This is one of the most powerful lobbying organizations in Washington. They spend millions of dollars each year to influence politicians from both the Democratic and Republican parties, ensuring that U.S. policies always favor Israel. This support comes not only from the American Jewish community, but also from many other interest groups. The third pillar, shared beliefs and values. This is a less mentioned but incredibly important factor. Many Americans, especially the community of evangelical Christians, a large voting bloc, believe that supporting and protecting the Jewish state is fulfilling God's will as described in the Bible. This deep religious conviction creates a solid foundation of political and social support for Israel right from within the heart of America. The secret behind the U.S.-Israel alliance. So, by backing Israel, what does the U.S. really want in the Middle East? In reality, America's goals are very clear. First, the U.S. wants to control and stabilize vital energy routes. Second, the U.S. seeks to prevent the rise of powers that could challenge its hegemony, such as Iran. Third is to maintain its position as the most decisive, influential power in the region. Israel is the most effective tool for the U.S. to achieve these objectives. However, this one-sided support has caused deep and lasting polarization. For the Arab world and the Palestinians, the U.S. is not seen as an impartial mediator. America's repeated use of its veto power in the Security Council to block resolutions critical of Israel, coupled with its enormous military aid, is seen as enabling the occupation of Palestinian territories. This creates a vicious cycle. American support makes Israel more hardline in negotiations. Israel's hardline stance and the plight of the Palestinians in turn ignite fury across the Arab world, creating fertile ground for extremist armed groups that oppose both Israel and the US. The region thus continues its slide into instability. The endless vortex. So why is the Middle East always unstable? The answer lies precisely in what we have just analyzed. It is an overlap of historical disputes, religious conflicts, competition for resources, and above all, the intervention of external powers for their own interests. The U.S. Israel alliance is the core factor shaping this situation. It is both the source that guarantees Israel's existence and strength and the main agent causing division, creating an almost indelible line between the Jewish state and its Arab neighbors. A relationship built on strategic interests reinforced by money and belief, but one that comes at the price of the prolonged instability of an entire region. In your opinion, will the U.S.-Israel relationship change in the future? And how would that change? If it happens, will it affect peace in the Middle East? Please leave your opinions in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to join us in exploring the complex stories behind the world's hottest international issues. Goodbye, and see you again with Mr. Know-It-All in the next episodes.